Hey guys, the earthquakes keep coming. More and more scientists are of the opinion that volcanic activity is involved or might even be the driving reason behind this. The earthquakes are not slowing down. We just had another magnitude 5, and in the new day in Greece, they keep coming in the same way. So authorities are still talking about the reason for all this to be tectonic, but they're also saying there could be a tsunami because there was a tsunami in 1956 when there was a 7.7 magnitude earthquake that, by the way, did trigger a volcanic eruption. And that's why they are preparing on the island right now for a tsunami and for a big earthquake. Many residents are leaving. They say, we think there's going to be a volcanic eruption and we can't survive this. And Santorini has produced many scientists say, super volcanic eruption VE8 that destroyed the Minoan civilization. So what would happen? That's the question I'm raising in this video. What are the tsunami scenarios if we see another big earthquake at Santorini, which could be imminent while I'm speaking? So what could happen? The Middle East Technical University has made a recent report, and researchers have highlighted the critical findings regarding tsunami risks in Santorini and the whole Aegean area. So not only Santorini, it's sending that tsunami somewhere else as well, and has so in the past. In 1956, there was up to 100 feet, like 25 meters. What was generated? A professor, Ahmet Yalciner, he's from the Earthquake Engineering Research Center. He has outlined how he calls it earthquake swarm tsunami scenarios. And he's warning of the possibility of significant wave heights that could be generated in certain areas around Santorini, about the island of Amorgos, Astipalea, and the Anafi Islands. So these heightened risks are basically tied to this ongoing seismic activity that we're seeing in the region since January 26, and it keeps coming and it doesn't stop. And you see a picture here from 1956, after that big earthquake hit Santorini. The residents, and it's risky because if you don't make it out in time, you know, you've seen the videos of the earthquake and you might have been wondering, why are the people paddling out in boats? Because they wanted to ride out that tsunami. If you're far enough out from the coast, you won't feel that tsunami. That tsunami is really getting high and bad, and then when it breaks, when it reaches the coastline. So residents seem to have been informed at that time. They were smart. They took to the sea and they were rowing to safety. I hope they all made it to safety. We know that in 1956, 50 people were lost, but it was not nearly as densely populated as it is now. Plus, if there's tourist season on the island per year, 3.5 million people. And that outlines another problem. They have built into the cliffs like crazy. You're basically down the cliff. And some of these buildings don't even have permits, so they're not built to code. Experts have found out foundations are not correct, so they might all slide down the hill. Anyways, if there's a bigger earthquake, that continuous rattling might have already done some damage and made it vulnerable to come down. We've already seen landslides on these cliffs. So if the rocks underneath these buildings and the foundations don't go deep enough into the hill, get brittle and slide down, that thing could come down, which is also not really great, right? So Santorini is an active area. It's volcanically active and seismically active, and it faces higher tsunami risks than previously thought. This is what their findings are. So their research predicts that as the seismic activities continue, some locations in the northeast of the Santorini island could experience tsunami waves higher than those even projected in their report. So this region is large. It's probably 2,500 square kilometers. And it is already closely monitored for tsunami threats because it is so vulnerable. So this study basically explores tsunami scenarios specifically for this vulnerable area where basically both the regional and the local effects are expected to vary in threats. So the report, what they're doing in this study, they anticipate different impacts along the coastlines of these islands, which are directly influenced by seismic events and conditions. And you see a picture here of Fira, that's the main town of Santorini after the devastating earthquake of July 1956, and it was July, probably high tourist season. This region has a history of earthquakes and tsunamis. It's the Aegean region. It's known for frequent seismic activity, but that phenomenon that we're seeing right now is out of the usual. The region has witnessed several powerful earthquakes throughout history. And the last one, 1956, I'll show you the video in the background. I think you see what this means. So 2 significant tremors happened at that time. One was 7.7 in magnitude. It caused tsunami waves that left severe damage across the islands. And this is the fear of the authorities that this might happen again anytime right now. The tsunami's effects were felt in various coastal areas as far as Turkey, including the Bodrum Peninsula, Datka, Guluk Bay, and Didim. So if you're vacationing there, have an earthquake tracker on your phone that alerts you. And you have to know where, right? Not that you think, oh, this is on some Greek island, no problem. You have to be aware. Where do these waves travel? That's why not only the Greek authorities, also the Turkish authorities are closely monitoring the area and the seismic crisis that is currently happening there. They're saying the situation is well understood right now, which is hopefully the case, right? So, tsunami threats in the Mediterranean. There's more threats than we believe or think. I've made a video about it last year already. So, should we see earthquakes in the Mediterranean areas that hit a magnitude greater than 6.5? That could trigger vertical movements on the ocean floor. And that then causes the possibility of a tsunami, and it becomes way more likely. But one thing is clear, guys. We're not talking about tsunamis that are possible in the Pacific Ocean. That's not the case. They're not comparable to these massive monster tsunamis. The researchers think that tsunamis in the Aegean and Mediterranean area would not reach the extreme heights that we've seen in places like Japan, for example, or Indonesia, where waves can exceed like above 100 feet or like 150 feet or even more, something like this, like 30 to 40 meters. They're not expecting this. But you know, I've reported about the Akanes mountain, where a landslide in a Norwegian fjord that is very narrow could trigger a 100 feet tsunami because it's like a bathtub. That thing starts shaking, it will swap over your bathtub eventually. And they're also talking about the volcanic threat for Santorini. They're saying the Santorini volcano remains a potential threat. Well, especially in the event of a volcanic eruption, right? So they think that the likelihood of a tsunami resulting from such an eruption remains low. What we could see is that the volcanic ash could disrupt air travel and have other significant impact on the region's atmosphere if something smaller like 1956 happens, right? Not the historical big one. Then we really have a problem if that produces a super volcanic eruption. We've talked about this with regards to Campi Flegrei near Naples in Italy. If you're interested in that, check out my playlist, or Yellowstone or something like this, right? But if it's something like 1956, it could be disruptive. What they want to do is basically they should do more proactive measures, like create evacuation maps, providing training for local authorities, and placing warning signs along the coastlines, like in the west coast of the US and Canada. There's always tsunami evacuation route. You're entering the tsunami danger zone, you're leaving the tsunami danger zone. So they are essential for mitigating these risks. And if you look at how Santorini is geologically situated, you just sometimes have to walk down narrow cliffs to get to the beach, and then you're down there. There's just a narrow beach area, and then comes this massive cliff. I mean, this is already dangerous enough if a big earthquake happens and the cliff comes down on you, right? But in case of a tsunami, you need to get up. And that's the scary thing, because the tsunami comes right after the earthquake. And you don't have much time, maybe 8 to 15 minutes, even less. So there's some elevators that get you down to the beaches, because all the hotels and all the residents are up on the cliffs. So it's not nice, because let's say you're still down there on the beach after the Big 7 earthquake. Are these stairs up the cliff still intact? Because you can't climb that cliff unless you're a specialty climber, but then can you climb it fast enough, right? So are you still able to get off the beach? So should they have boats there so that people can paddle out? I mean, but let's be honest. I mean, I've been sailing all my life. Most people, if you put them in a paddle boat, they don't know how to paddle, and they don't know how to move quickly and fast. They're losing the paddle. Oh, you could get these boats where the paddles are firm, they're attached, so the only thing they need to do is this. But still, with ocean waves and everything, if you're not experienced, I don't want to paint a doomsday scenario, and I didn't plan that, but the more I talk about it, the scarier it sounds, especially when I look at these images of this stunningly beautiful place, I have to say. But it can become a trap if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. That is my opinion, guys. So if you're interested in this topic, check out all my other videos with so much information, all the recent updates. Put them in the end screen. If you like what I do and what I'm telling you here, maybe subscribe and like it. Become a member of the channel, or support the channel buying me a coffee or two or something. Go to my buymeacoffee.com/silky website. All the necessary links are in the description of this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe. Bye-bye.